Next up, we're going to talk about articulation. Now, the NECA, we're actually going to start with the NECA, since that technically came first. First, we have a nice kind of like barbell style ball joint, so you can kind of go in and out, forward and back, and kind of just go inside and just swivel around the socket. The jaw is on a hinge, although mine is still very loose, a little too loose. Here we have a nice ball joint here at the base of the neck as opposed to the base of the head. And we can get some decent amount of range, not too much, but we can still get a nice rocker, forward and back, all that good stuff. Arms are on ball joints, so you can kind of like rotate it, swivel. Can't really go like up or down all that much. Actually, no, that's a lie. You kind of go up about that far, down about that far. And you can rotate pretty much all the way around. Swivel hinges for the elbows, so you can kind of hinge in and out and swivel. Yeah, you can swivel it, which is a surprise because my other bootleg Godzilla can't. That's NECA. You can swivel and swivel and hinge at the wrists, so that's pretty good. Coming on down to the waist here, we have a little bit of swivel, so you can kind of pivot, I guess, the figure back and forth. Doesn't really have much of an ab crunch at all, but does get a nice side to side. Legs, we can kind of go out to the side, go in, forward, and back, and can rotate pretty nicely. It's not as crisp as I'd want to. The the knees can go fold. This one can go fold in and out, just like that, out about that far, fold in about that far, and it can actually rotate a little bit. This one I have a bit of issue with because like the hinge is not even moving. I tried doing the dish soap trick, and all it just did was free up the hinge. So sorry, the swivel for the hinge. So what I'm guessing is that either one, that hinge is really tight in there, or it's stuck with paint, or two, there was no hinge cut to begin with. It looks like there's a hinge, but let's be honest, can't really have a quality when it comes to bootlegs. Well, you can, but depends on which bootleg you get. Then we have ball joints here at the feet, so you can kind of pivot a little bit forward and back, all that nice, neat stuff. No copyright for the NECA Godzilla, which I'm, again, was surprised about initially. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 ball joints here for the tail. And it actually stays up pretty well. And no bendy wire here, because it is just a piece of plastic that's all sealed up. And nothing at the tail, even though that does look like there's a ball joint there. Next up is Playmates, and much like the sculpt and paint, they took the articulation cuts and simplified it down to about just above a Bandai vinyl. I wouldn't say it's on par because it's actually got a bit more. The head is actually the base of the neck is on a swivel, which I do find interesting because I think that this is. They do it on the classic figures, but not the modern Monsterverse figures, which I find interesting, unless you're counting 2014. No jaw articulation, which, I mean, who would want to open that big pie hole? We have swivels at the shoulders, so you can get a fair amount of movement there. Nothing at the arms, no movement at the waist, although you get very limited swivels here at the legs. And I say limited because you think it would go full 360, right? Well, no. They do this stupid thing where they go up about this far because that's about as far as you can get it upward, and that's as far as you can get it backward. This, you can go up about that far, backwards about that far, and can rotate all the way around at the feet. And the tail is actually on a. It's ironically enough, the tail is cut just where the NECA original is cut, like here and here, and as well as the midsections here and here. However, when you try to move it, because they are just swivels, well, this one's just a basic swivel, you can kind of see the plastic still degrading over time. Like, you can kind of see all that white specks when you go to, like, rotate it. Yeah. Very clearly not the best intentions there. And you can also kind of see the The ball joint here, it is pretty loose. Like, there's nothing really holding it in place aside from the peg itself. There's no like groove or anything, but you do get a decent amount of range. You can kind of go down, up, and pretty much all the good stuff. So as far as posability goes, on knocking over Luxo almost, for articulation, they're pretty different. Obviously, this guy's much more simplistic, but yeah, that's pretty much a rundown of posability. Now, next, let's go into size. Now, as far as sheer size goes, the Playmates is a tad bit bigger than the NECA. However, they're essentially the same size. Like, they'll scale about the same, even though if he was, like, looking up, then he'd be, like, more closer towards a 7, 8-inch toy as opposed to just a 6-inch. So, that's essentially how big they are. But they're also about the same length. So pretty much no one outright wins, although it is worth noting again the Playmates is slightly bigger. Accessories, and really no one has any accessories, although what is worth noting is that even though I already pointed this out in the review, but he actually borrows the tail mold from the Atomic Blast Godzilla, and he can actually use the tail beam. If you need proof, he has the peg hole. It's right there, right at the tip of my finger. So obviously, somewhere where this guy was manufactured, they put the tail parts together and painted it red. So, yeah. Price. We're going to use MSRP. Original releases of these guys. The original NECA Shin Godzilla was about $20. And this guy was about $13, I believe. But really, that's not much of a difference. But, again, he is technically the cheaper figure, but they're both cheap. Now, as far as availability goes, a bootleg Shin Godzilla can be found anywhere, but the original cannot. But at the same time, the original was released across all major retailers like Toys R Us, Target, Walmart's, pretty much everywhere. Well, this guy also hit those retailers for only a short period of time and never got a reissue until this guy rolled around and was essentially his replacement up until the discontinuation of the Toho Classic Series line. So, essentially speaking, they're both at a kind of a loss nowadays, but they were pretty neck and neck when they were both being produced. And packaging, and I'm not going to bust out his packaging, but essentially both of them had different types of packaging. He came in two different types of boxes. One was the standard clamshell, you already know, with the Bandai Creations Godzilla from 1954, but the other one was a stylistic Godzilla 2016 poster box with the Shin Godzilla poster in red and featured a read-up on the back, which I honestly think was like a huge step up. Well, this guy featured the standard Bandai Creations like box that you all know and love, but it features the 2000 box, 2000 Godzilla on the box as opposed to just the 54, and also features more orange. And again, honestly, that's pretty much the main differences as far as like the packaging is concerned. And so overall, that's basically all there is to show as far as differences and similarities go with the two figures. There's really not a lot to talk about, surprisingly, because, you know, I've talked about these two like several times, you especially, and you off camera, so really, it all depends on which one you want to buy. I would just recommend getting him, because with the other one on the market, there's really no reason to buy this thing. Unless you want just a so bad it's good or just outright bad Godzilla toys. He's serviceable. He's pretty good, I would say, even for a bootleg. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys liked it, definitely subscribe to the channel. Believe in Jesus, accept him as your Lord and Savior today. Spread the gospel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, everyone. God bless.